3 years ago, Raghav Chadha sat across from a camera and called BJP a party of illiterate goons. Last week, he joined them. He did not just quietly leave AAP, he brought 6 other Rajya Sabha MPs with him. That is 7 out of 10 members AAP has in a single day. That isn't a resignation, that is controlled demolition of Aam Aadmi Party. But the most interesting number in the whole story is not the 7 who walked away. It is 6.67, the magic number. Because 3 years ago, Chadha himself tried to close that exact loophole he just jumped through. We'll get to that loophole in a second. First, you have to understand who he was. He wasn't just a backbencher who showed up to vote. He was a chartered accountant, very young, polished, and fluent in the kind of English that stood out in a system full of regional heavyweights. Then there is the reach. 14.6 million followers on Instagram. That is more than the entire top leadership of AAP combined. He wasn't a dynasty kid. He wasn't bred in RSS. He was the poster child for the educated middle class guy, willing to fight the system from inside. He wasn't just an AAP politician. He was the brand. Last week, he took that brand to BJP. Now the question everyone is asking is, which version of him are we looking at? Sellout, survivor, or misaligned? You pick one and the other two will start looking differently. Let's look at the sellout angle. The second he moved, the old clip was everywhere. Chadha sitting there calling BJP a party of illiterate goons. If that is the clip all you have, sellout feels like the only word for it. But Chadha is pitching a different story, a misalignment. At his press conference, he framed himself the right man in the wrong party. He claimed he left AAP because he was disappointed and disgusted with what the party had become. But follow the logic here. If he is joining the goons today, he's saying one of the two things. Either he was wrong about BJP 3 years ago, or AAP has become even worse than the people he described. He hasn't said which, but his disappointment narrative points squarely to the second. Chadda's misalignment story has one massive problem: his followers. When he made the jump, he talked to the journalist. His 14.6 million followers just watched from the sidelines. The result? 1 million people unfollowed him in a single day. He eventually posted a follow-up addressing them directly as dosto, friends. But it was just a repeat of the press conference. He explained why he was done with AAP, but he ignored the elephant in the room. What changed about BJP? The party he built his platform criticizing all along. This move nukes his integrity brand. He was the educated outsider who fought for the common man with values. Now, he is inside the very party he spent a decade running against. Chadda's defense is simple. The work matters more than the party. He's still fighting for the gig workers and the paternity leave. He just changed the teams. Fair enough, but it does not explain why the criticism suddenly went quiet. To be fair to him for a second, that 1 million unfollow stat might say as much about the followers as it does about Chadha. If joining the BJP is an instant 5-second deal breaker for you, were you really following Raghav Chadha to start with? Or were you using him as a vehicle against a party you don't like? If you followed him for his thinking is still there. If you followed him for his policy work, it is still on the desk. I would not run for the exit the second logo changes. I would stick around and ask the real question. Will he still be a critic from inside? For me, the failure wouldn't be switching the parties. The failure would be going from the change agent to an yes man. That's the answer I would want before unfollowing him myself. To see if he's a survivor, just look at the math. India's anti-defection law is simple. Switch parties, you lose your seats, unless you move as a merger. To qualify, you need 2/3 of your party lawmakers to cross over with you. Aam Aadmi Party had 10 MPs. 2/3 of 10 is 6.67. Chadha brought 7 MPs with him. the exact minimum with no room to spare. The real irony here is in August 2022, Chadha himself introduced a bill to raise the bar to 3/4. If his bill had passed, he would have needed 8 people to stay safe, not 7. He escaped through the door he himself tried to lock a while ago. There's one catch. Constitutional lawyers argue a merger only counts if the actual organizations combine, but the AAP still exists as a separate party. The Rajya Sabha chairman cleared the move for now because of the count being sufficient, but the courts could still decide if this was a legal merger or just a math trick. Let's zoom out for a bit. Raghav Chadha is just one guy, but he is a part of much bigger trend. The BJP does not just beat opposition, it headhunts their best talent. In 2015, Himanta Biswa Sharma left Congress and today he runs Assam. In 2020, Jyotiraditya Scindia walked out with 22 MLAs and flipped Madhya Pradesh. Today, he is a union minister. In 2024, roughly 1 of 4 BJP candidates came from another party. Notice the pattern here. These defectors aren't being shoved into a back row. They are running states, they are sitting in the cabinet, they are holding the steering wheel. That's because the BJP does not just promise the potential or influence, they have the seats and the wins to actually hand over the keys. Most people explain this by pointing to the stick, the fear of investigations or central agencies. And look, it is a real possibility. Ruling parties tend to have more leverage with agencies than the opposition does, and the BJP is the ruling party. Whether that leverage is actually being used on defectors, I don't have evidence for that. My take is we often ignore the carrot, the prospect. Politicians are ambitious people. They want to do things. In the opposition right now, doing things often means 10 years of meetings that go nowhere, bills that die on arrival, and the speeches that change exactly 0 policies. It's a career spent being right but losing every single day. The BJP offers a different deal. A ministry, a state, a seat at the table where the rules are actually written. Think about it like your own career. Imagine you have 2 job offers. Offer A promises you a corner office in 15 years if the company survives and if the board likes you. Offer B has the results to back it up. They offer you real authority starting Monday with a clear ladder all the way to the top. If you are talented and you are hungry, you probably will pick the second offer every time. We like to think of politics as a battle of pure ideology, but at the end of the day, politicians are just professionals doing the math. And right now, the BJP's math is the only one that adds up to a promotion. There is also the meritocracy gap. The BJP is run by people who did not inherit their names. Example, Modi, Yogi, Himanta. None of them are political heads. In India bloc though, by contrast, is largely a collection of family businesses. Congress, DMK, SP, NCP, you name it. If you aren't in the inner circle, there is a ceiling. Look at Shashi Tharoor, one of the most articulate voices in the country, yet consistently kept outside the high command. For a capable young leader, the BJP offers a clear message. If you're good and hungry, you can rise. This isn't an accident, it is political engineering. Sharma in 2015, Scindia in 2020, Chadha in 2026. The BJP has built a machine that takes the faces of its critics and turns them into next generation of leaders. So where does that leave us with Raghav Chadha? The math tells you he is a strategist. He engineered a move so precise, it cleared the law by smallest of possible margins. The press conference tells us he is a politician. He dodged the hard questions his followers actually cared about. So that is not a hero's journey, but it is not a villain's origin story either. It's a career move. It's very much human. Most people, if they were demoted at work and felt their careers are hitting a ceiling, would start looking for an exit. We do that in corporate jobs every day. So why do we expect politicians to be the only humans who don't care about their own survival? His followers are right to feel burned. I'm not contesting that. They are right to question his integrity. But Maybe the real lesson here isn't about Raghav's soul, it's about our expectations. When we treat politicians like saints or celebrities, we are always going to be disappointed. Citizenship isn't about handing out moral verdicts or labeling people as pure heroes or villains. It's about informed judgment. It's holding people accountable for the specifics. It's refusing to accept a brand at face value. It's the same fair but tough lens you would want someone to apply to your career. So, I'm not going to write him off as a demon. And I'm not going to buy the mission first spin without evidence. But what I think matters less than what you decide, because at the end of the day, a politician's job is to represent you, and your job is to decide if they still are doing it. So that's my take on Raghav Chadha. What is yours? Tell me down in the comments. A sellout, survivor, or misalignment? And tell me if the math of 6.67 actually changed your answer. If this video gave you something to think about, please hit the subscribe. I read every single comment written on this video. The best ones make the next video sharper. If you made it this far, you are probably exactly the kind of person this channel is built for. Until next time, dig deeper.